What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Sanji back at it with another video, man. Today we're going live. I thought about making a video, really posting it, but there's just so much to talk about during this game. First and foremost, man, we're gonna talk about Alex Leatherwood. I told you guys, man. Look, this past week, the last game that we played against the Vikings, I saw Alex Leatherwood play, and I was disappointed. I was disappointed with his play, and that translated into this week. And I think a lot of people are now finally seeing it. Alex Leatherwood's not the Raiders guy. Now, we're not going to really talk about that right now. We're going to talk about the game in general, talk about some positives, talk about some of the battles, some of the things I kind of took away from this game. If you guys could hit that thumbs up button, I would really, really, really appreciate it. It obviously helps the algorithm kind of grow. Let's get into some of your guys' comments. First and foremost, shout out to all you guys, man. Natural Creator, shout out to you, man. I really appreciate it. I definitely saw your comment on the poll / community post that I put out, and we're going to talk about it, man. We're going to talk about the offensive line. Raider Tony, shout out to you. Edgardo Escobar, shout out to you. Steve, shout out to you. 300, Kaiser, Anthony, shout out to all of you guys, man. There's a lot of you guys here. Let's talk about this. First and foremost, the Raiders won. I guess we should just start right there. 15-13. It was a crazy game. I was super busy today, but I was able to watch the game. I watched it in different parts. And honestly, the game ended for me as soon as the game ended for everybody else, and I was able to skip past commercials and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about this game because I rewatched a lot of the plays. Jared Stidham looks good. I think he's the QB2 after Derek Carr. I said this last week. I know a lot of people disagreed with me last week because Nick Mullins did look better. But Stidham drove right downfield, took us downfield, and scored a touchdown. I believe on literally the very first drive, we scored a touchdown. Jared Stidham looked good. Really, really, really good. I know the run game did not look that good, especially with the running backs early on. Of course, Britton Brown kind of dominated towards the end of the game. And we're going to talk about Britton Brown because the guy's really, really, really proven me wrong, man. Britton Brown, in my opinion, is here to stay now. I don't know if he's going to be with the Raiders this season unless you make some hard cuts, which would include Kenny and Drake. I think Britton Brown maybe hits the practice squad and you put the practice squad protection on him so no other team can take him. We're going to talk about all that, man. Big shout out to all you guys, man. I already got some super chats. If you guys have questions, comments, or just want to show support, man, super chats are the way to go. I say this all the time, and I don't like saying it because I know it comes off it comes off a certain type of way. But, a lot of my videos do get demonetized, especially the ones where I include film and stuff. So super chats always support this channel, and of course, I always appreciate it. Let's get into the super chats really quickly, and then we're going to talk about some of these battles. At the right tackle position, I think there's a guy that's already run away with the starting job. We're going to talk about that in just a second. 818 Raider said the demise of the Raiders will be the depth. Mark my words, sloppy win, but I'll take it. That's a good point, and that's a fair point as well. The Raiders, if we get hurt at left tackle or at right tackle, or if we get hurt at maybe free safety or something like that, it's going to impact us tremendously. I don't know how great our depth is, but one thing I did realize today, and I think one of the reasons why the Raiders struggled early on, especially trying to run the ball, was because we were kind of shuffling around our offensive linemen. And Josh McDaniels has already told us this. Josh McDaniels in the past told us that we're going to try different guys at different positions to just really see what sticks and what doesn't. As you guys know, Alex Edwards started the game today. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And I don't want to put the guy down, but in light where he was garbage. There were plays where he was getting pushed right back into the quarterback, and people may not have even realized it, but I watched every play twice, right? I'm sitting here watching the game on my computer, and I have the ability to go back on every single play, which also gives me the ability to skip. And Alex Leatherwood was just getting driven right back into the quarterback. On one play, he allowed a sack. On another play, he gets beat, and the quarterback takes a massive hit, and he came out there starting. And he was so terrible. Not only did he get pulled for a certain part of the first half, I think like the last 3 drives of the second quarter, but then he comes back in and starts in the third quarter. Like, how do you start the game basically get pulled, right? Or maybe the Raiders just wanted to see Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle, but then he was asked to come back in. I didn't see Thayer Munford out there at all today, which is actually a really good sign. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like 90% sure Thayer Munford was not out there today. But I appreciate the super chat. Shout out to my boy Raid the Tape. There's a couple of really interesting comments. Uncharted said Jonathan Abram was balling, and I could not disagree at all. Jonathan Abram, man, you know what's crazy is Abram is having his success under this Patrick Graham scheme, and Patrick Graham's utilizing his best ability. Abram needs to blitz. He needs to get into the slot. He needs to blitz. We need to play that big nickel and take him out of coverage as much as possible. Now, of course, he had that massive hit on the tight end, which jarred the ball loose. Great play by Jonathan Abram. Abram had a great game today, man. Obviously, he's going to be our starting safety. Do keep in mind he was playing against like a backup quarterback. The tight end that he hit was a starter, but a lot of the other guys are kind of backups. By the way, Jonathan Abram looked really, really, really good. Shout out to Braxton Walters. A close game, but the Dolphins rolled out with starters, and we did not. Our squad is deep. That is fact. But I don't think the Dolphins had every single one of their starters. They did have a lot of their starters, but I don't know if it was every single starter. Maybe some guys were hurt or whatever. But it was an interesting game today, man. Like for us, it was really, really, really interesting. Our first string, our backup offense, right? The first guys that went out there right away drove right downfield and scored a touchdown. And it was a lot of the Dolphins starting players on the defensive side of the ball. I know they didn't have like their two starting corners. I think Byron Jones is on the physically unable to perform, and Xavier Howard just didn't play. But that was the same thing for the Raiders, right? Like it was all our backups for the most part. Minus some of the offensive linemen, but I appreciate the super chat. Dreaded One, shout out to you. Jimmy C, shout out to you. We're gonna talk about Alex Leatherwood, man. I think it's very, very, very important to talk about this, man, because let's be honest, Alex Leatherwood is going to be the guy that's going to get beat, and Derek Carr's going to take a massive hit, and Derek Carr's going to get hurt. It's going to be Alex Leatherwood if he starts, but I don't think Alex Leatherwood starts. I honestly think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Thayer Munford didn't play for a reason. I think the Raiders saw enough out of Munford that they didn't feel like they needed to put him out there. Now, I will say that Jermaine Illuminor came in after Alex Leatherwood played pretty much the first and a half quarters of the first and about half of the second quarter. Jermaine Illuminor came in and looked really good, like really, really, really good. I saw him in pass protection, and the guy was shut down. Like, I'm going to tell you guys right now, man, I talked to some of these offensive linemen. I talked to some of these defensive linemen. Guys that I asked questions about regarding Jermaine Illuminor tell me that he should be the starter. Like, there are Raiders defensive linemen that I've spoken to that think Jermaine Illuminor should be the Raiders' right tackle. And I don't see how anyone can disagree with that, like at all, right? Jermaine Illuminor just looks good, right? And I'm not saying he's our long-term solution, although, if he can prove that he's a long-term solution, great. I like where Jermaine Illuminor is, and I'm going to do a film breakdown on him. Maybe I'll do it right after I go live here. Maybe it'll be sometime tomorrow, but in my opinion, Illuminor looked really, really good. I believe it was 2 drives, maybe it was 3 drives. But the sad part about the entire situation with Illuminor was the fact that they pulled Alex Leatherwood. Illuminor dominated, and we only saw him for a couple drives, and then they threw Alex Leatherwood back out there. And I believe it was Jackson Barton that ended the game at right tackle. I would have expected him to then just play the entire second half, but instead they threw Alex Leatherwood back out there. Now, I don't know if there's some confidence issues with Alex Leatherwood or what's going on, but it does seem like there's definitely something going on, right? At least in my opinion. I did see a comment about Lester Cotton by Alston here. He said Cotton had some bad reps. He absolutely did. He did allow a sack where he got just flat out beat by the guy he was in a one-on-one situation with. That was early in the game. And then he even pulled once and he missed his guy. His guy ended up running past him and he blew the play up. Cotton has to step his game up. G. Warub said, Sanji, you have to stop being soft on players, dude. You're scared to tell the truth. I try telling as much truth as I can possibly tell. I don't want to be too critical, right? Guys do develop. Some guys take a little bit longer. 909, thank you for the correction. Thayer Munford was out. That is fact. I think Thayer Munford did get hurt. I believe last week he got hurt. or maybe it was during practice. He came off the field. So hopefully he gets right. But I do think Jermaine Illuminor should be the Raiders starting right tackle. I'd be surprised if he's not, to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think one of the things Josh McDaniels does with his group of guys is I think he's kind of holding back to really putting the real option, real plan out there. I don't think Josh McDaniels wants the Chargers to know what the Raiders are going to do and have the tape of who they're going to have to beat. I think that's why Colton Miller hasn't played and won't play this preseason. Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow. There's a reason why these guys aren't going to play. And I think there's also a reason why we're not seeing Illuminor at right tackle. I think there's a big reason why. We've only seen him, I believe, in the first preseason game. He took a couple snaps at right tackle. Maybe it was just one drive. And then, of course, this past or just game that just ended right now, 2 or 3 drives. And I think based off of what I saw initially, he's going to be the Raiders right tackle. Obviously, we'll have to watch the actual tape. We'll have to watch every play with the coach's film. But big shout out to you, Arch Stanton. You said diapers are expensive. I hope this helped. Big shout out to you, man. Diapers are super expensive, man. And a fact, my baby has a allergic reaction to certain diapers, so we have to spend a little bit more money, unfortunately, on the more expensive ones. But shout out to you, man. I really appreciate it. Pacian Cunningham, apologize if I say your name incorrectly. You said, I think Illuminor was the backup plan the whole time. They trust him from the Pats tenure. He seemed more solid than Montfort too. You know what's crazy is I agree with you. I actually watched Illuminor last year while he's with the Patriots because of the fact that our right tackle struggled last year and we had that entire swap happen. I think it was like week 3, week 4. I watched the Illuminor's tape and I said, okay, if the Raiders need a right tackle because I don't have trust in Brandon Parker, maybe it's Illuminor. In fact, there's a video out there where you can watch Jermaine Illuminor against Max Crosby. I believe from the 2020 season, I posted it. It's probably like 20 to 25 total clips. Illuminor looked really good against Max Crosby. A beat writer I talked to at camp, I recently talked to, I asked him about the battle between Illuminor against Malcolm Kuntz, against Max Crosby. And even this beat writer agrees that Illuminor has the best chances to succeed for the Raiders. Brandon Parker was almost the Raiders starting right tackle by default. And I think with the Illuminor, the option initially was that he's going to be a right guard. And I think when Lester Cotton won that battle and the right tackle struggling, they decided to try Illuminor at right tackle. And in my opinion, they like what they see. You know, there's a reason why the Raiders have yet to go out and actually sign a right tackle. There's a reason why Darrell Williams is not a Raider right now. Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, they have a plan. They know there's someone out there for the Raiders. Cedric said Leather was playing like he didn't give a crap, no heart in the game. That's what I noticed last week. Alex Leatherwood did not come off last week that like he wants to play football. Like he doesn't have that drive, that killer mentality, that will to want to be great. Why is it that, you know, and this is one of the things that happens in the offseason, right? There was a picture. I know some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Posted with Alex Leatherwood and Andre James. They're working with Duke Mayweather. Duke Mayweather is an offensive line guru, super smart guy, works with all the top tier offensive linemen. And there was a video and an image of Leatherwood and James working with that coach. Leatherwood's not taking that next step, but yet Andre James has. And it makes me think, besides that one day, that one picture that was posted, that one video, how much work did Alex Leatherwood put into the offseason? And I'm not questioning his work ethic, right? That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying, like, maybe Alex Leatherwood needs another year to develop, but right now he doesn't, in my opinion, he doesn't look like he's the guy. And that's my personal opinion. JC said, how did Illuminor do? I think he looked good. Shout out to Cedric and Cunningham for the super chats. Quentin Booker said, would you trade for Andre Dillard, right tackle the Eagles? You know what's interesting about Andre Dillard is some people call him a bust because the Eagles took him in the first round and he never actually became their right tackle, their future right tackle. But what a lot of people don't know is they also have 2 other all-pro caliber tackles, right? They took Andre Dillard with the thought that the current right tackle they had would not pan out. He had some injury issues. And that guy ended up being a superstar. I don't know how to say his name, but he ended up being really, really, really good. And now Andre Dillard is just a backup. I would consider it depending on what it costs. The Eagles, in my opinion, have the best offensive line in the NFL. And if not the best, one of the top 3 or 4 offensive lines. And if Andre Dillard's learned anything from those guys, maybe he can come in and help the Raiders. but it's going to depend on what it costs. Plus, you do have to keep in mind how much is it going to cost to re-sign him. Dillard, I think, came out in 2019 or 2020, one of those years. So he's up for a contract in the next couple of years. So I don't know what it's going to cost, but I do appreciate it, Quentin. I would do it, man. Honestly, I would do it. I would honestly roll forward with Illuminor, see how Jermaine Illuminor does at right tackle, and then jump in and if it's Andre Dillard that is going to be the Raiders' savior, assuming Illuminor struggles, then let it be. But the one thing you do have to keep in mind, what about Thayer Munford, right? If you get Dillard, you're basically saying that he is our future, and then Thayer Munford's kind of thrown to the side, right? So you do have to keep all those things in consideration, as opposed to if you roll forward with Jermaine Illuminor, you can use them for 2 to 3 to 4 years, right? Or however long it takes Thayer Munford to be ready, right? So there's definitely a lot of potential with the Raiders right tackle. We just aren't sure exactly what it's going to be week one. I think it should be Jermaine Illuminor with Thayer Munford as the long-term development. That's what I personally think. Shout out to you, man, for the super chat. We need to go out and get a right tackle. Shout out to you, Parsa. That's pretty much what everyone's saying, right? That's what we've kind of been on. I see a lot of your guys' comments. Ramon Moore said, Illuminor looks in shape. Jermaine Illuminor actually said this in an interview, and it wasn't one of the beat writers' interviews. It wasn't like one of those pressers. It was like a side interview he did with someone, and I just randomly came across it where he talked about how much effort he put into it this offseason. His goal this offseason was that I'm going to 150% effort, be in the best shape possible, and he's saying that he is in the best shape possible. And the guy looks explosive, man. The one thing I've noted among the offensive linemen, and this is like just watching the games, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed it too, is Illuminor's explosive, man. He's constantly the first guy out of his stance. The constantly firing out, getting vertical, punching. The guy's doing a good job, man. And maybe you call me a little biased, but I think the offensive line is going to be okay, man. I'm going to calm it down a little bit. I think we'll be okay. Mr. Nate Duncan, shout out to you for the super chat. Said, can't wait to see our stars play in the system. One of the things, and I want to know what you guys think, and I really want to know your guys' comments on this. And we're going to talk about some of the players that really shine, because there's some guys that I think really took the step to become that next top tier guy. Patrick Mahomes today, I think, threw the ball 19 times. Tua Tagovailoa came in and ran, I think, the first quarter, only the first quarter. A couple other star quarterbacks played today, and Josh Allen played today. But yeah, Derek Carr did not play today. And I believe Justin Herbert is going to play. No quote me. I think that game starts at 7. So if someone's watching, you guys can probably confirm. Do you guys think it's going to hurt the Raiders by not having Derek Carr and maybe you leave Devontae Adams out, but do you guys think it's going to hurt Derek Carr to not actually go out there and take real live reps? Do you guys think that's going to actually impact the Raiders? It's different when you're scrimmaging your own guys, right? That's one thing. You set everything up. You throw an interception. It's not a big deal. You guys think that's going to hurt the Raiders? I don't know. I feel like last year we didn't play any of our starters. And against the Ravens, we were a way better team than the Baltimore Ravens. But yeah, it went into overtime into the final 2 or 3 minutes of that game. And I almost feel like it was because our guys kind of came out and they're kind of sluggish. The speed wasn't there, right? And maybe there's something else behind that. But, you look at all these other teams and they're all having their starters in, right? Like Patrick Mahomes played today. That's the best quarterback in the NFL, or one of the best, and he's out there playing. And I get it. I already see some of the comments. I understand. If you're testing the offensive line, the different guys, you don't want Derek Carr to get hurt. And I do agree with that. So it's a really solid point. Really, really solid point, right? That's 100% spot on. Jeff said Carr will be fine without playing the preseason. Tycho says, without the O-line being sorted, bad idea to play DC. And I guess that is a good point. Raiders for Life said, thoughts on Trash Leatherwood. If you're just joining, you guys know the first 18 minutes of this video has been talking about the right tackle. I want to talk about a couple different positions. We're going to talk about the quarterback. Simon Osenia, and I apologize if I say your name wrong, said Garbers over Mullins. Well, here's the thing. I don't know how many quarterbacks the Raiders are going to keep, but after Derek Carr, it is Jarrett Stidham. He is the number 2 quarterback. I said this last week that Jarrett Stidham should be the Raiders' number 2 quarterback. And a lot of people say it should be Nick Mullins. And the thing that hesitated with Nick Mullins is, yeah, his statistics last week looked better, but he also had a 34-yard catch and run for a touchdown. He didn't throw a touchdown. He had a catch and run for a touchdown. Nick Mullins, 6 of 9 for 39 yards. Absolute terrible today. I think Jarrett Stidham looked good. I think he should be the backup quarterback for the Raiders. I think if DC were to get hurt for 1 or 2 games, Stidham gives us the best chance to win. And it's not just the ability of both guys, because there's really not a major difference. I think the big difference comes in the knowledge. I think Stidham he's just way more knowledgeable about this offense, this offensive scheme and system, and what McDaniels wants done. He spent 2 or 3 years with McDaniels prior to coming here. At the same time, Josh McDaniels traded for Jarrett Stidham, right? Never forget that. So in my opinion, Stidham should be the Raiders' number 2 quarterback. I want to talk about a wide receiver that really shined today, and statistically wasn't crazy. He had 3 catches for 53 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. I'm sorry, 3 targets. And I guess technically he's listed as a tight end. That is Jesper Horsted. I'm not sure why he's listed as a tight end, because he was playing receiver for the Raiders, slot receiver. He did come up and make some blocks, lining up similar to the inline position, although he didn't put his hand in the dirt. Jesper Horsted reminds me of Hunter Renfrow. I don't know what it is about Jesper Horsted. But he looked good in my opinion, man. And you know what's crazy about Horsted is there was a play, I think it was like a 3rd and long, and he had like this, I think it was like 24, 25 yards. The guy had a really solid catch, and he was making plays out there. I don't know if he makes the active wide receivers or tight ends or whatever you want to say. Maybe he's like the 3rd or 4th tight end, but he looked good. And I think there should be a roster spot for a guy like that. He's quick. He can move. He did just a good player. Similar, you can say, we're kind of talking about wide receivers. Keelan Cole looked really good today. DJ Turner had a catch for 16 yards. Tyron Johnson had 4 catches for 32. I don't know how Josh McDaniels is going to decide who's on the roster and who's not. For a fact, I know this from people I know within the Raiders building. Mac Hollins is going to be on the Raiders roster. The reason why he hasn't played this week, and I don't think he played last week either, is because he's the Raiders' number 2 wide receiver. Opposite of Devontae Adams, number 2 is Mac Hollins. So Mac Hollins is going to be on the Raiders roster. So you got 2 receivers right there with Adams and Hollins. 3 is Hunter Renfrow. That's where it's going to get interesting, because who's 4 and 5 and potentially 6? I'm going to say the Raiders keep 5 wide receivers. Who do you keep? Is it Keelan Cole? Is it Tyron Johnson? Is it DJ Turner? It's going to be very difficult to decide who's going to make this team. Or is it going to be Horsted, right? If he's not listed as a tight end. It's going to be very, very, very interesting. It's going to be interesting. Even the running backs is like super, super tight, because I love Britton Brown. Absolutely love Britton Brown. And I see some comments about Sam Webb. We're going to talk about the defense in just a couple minutes. But Britton Brown, 9 carries, 70 yards. He did have a long for 36 yards. So by the math in my head, 70 minus 36, I believe, is 34. Don't quote me. I'm not very good with math in my head. So he had 8 carries for 34 yards before his 36-yard run, which isn't terrible, right? 8 carries for 34 yards. It's a little over 4 yards per carry. So that's still not bad. That's pretty good. And then obviously he had the 36-yard run. Is Britton Brown going to be on the Raiders active roster? From what I've heard, again, people within the building, Amir Abdullah is locked in with the Raiders. Brandon Bolden is locked in with the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, and then Zamir White. That's 4 running backs right there. So who else makes it in the running back room? Is it going to be Kenyon Drake? Is it going to be Britton Brown? Is it going to be Austin Walter? Because 4 running backs is what I would say the Raiders are going to keep, and that's like at max capacity. So is Kenyon Drake going to get cut? And that's a question that I want to know what you guys think about. Could the Raiders potentially cut Kenyon Drake? Even a guy like Britton Brown, is he going to be on the practice squad? And what about Zamir White? Like, is Zamir White an actual starter? Now, coming into the game, Zamir White had the most catches for the Raiders. But running the football, he had 5 carries for 8 yards. So he didn't look great. Although one of his carries was from the 1-yard line. So that does bring the average down, obviously. But what do the Raiders do there with Zamir White? I think he had another catch today too. It's going to be very interesting what the Raiders do. There's so many guys that I feel like have the potential for the Las Vegas Raiders to make the active roster, but I think some guys may not make it. Now, I do want to get into two super chats really quickly. Shout out to both you guys with the super chats. Um, and then we're going to talk about the defense because there are some guys that, in my opinion, really, really, really stuck out. You guys know one of them if you guys actively watch my videos. Sam Webb looked fantastic. We're going to talk about him. He did allow some catches, but there's a lot of positive things with Sam Webb. And we'll get into that. Let's just get into these super chats. Jimmy C said, Sanjit needs sleep. I don't think he will make it through the season. So I want to clarify something for you guys, man. My eyes are red. You guys can see right now. You know, people are always like, Sanji, are you high, man? Do you need sleep? Like, do you want us to come watch your baby so you can go to sleep? You know, the thing is like I wear contacts, so my eyes naturally get a little bit more red because of the fact that I wear contacts. Anyone that wears contacts knows what it's like. Plus, I was out. I was up at like 6 o'clock this morning. But I'm good, man. I'm good. I appreciate the comment. I appreciate that you're a member, especially. Victor said Leatherwood sucks. They need to trade for a right tackle. Absolutely, man. No question about it. I appreciate the super chat. We've talked about Leatherwood. If you missed it, go back to the beginning of this video. You guys won't regret that. Ty Davis, shout out to you. Said Sam Webb outplayed Amik Robertson. We're gonna talk about it. Let's just get right into it right now, man. Shout out to you for the super chat. You know, I like Amik Robertson. I really do. But Amik Robertson allowed a massive gain to Sanders down the left sideline. Quarterback Skylar Thompson, who I think should start. That's just my opinion for the Dolphins. But a massive throw to wide receiver Sanders and Amik Robertson, man. Like, what the hell are you doing? You're going up in the fourth quarter, I think, too. I believe it was in the fourth quarter. You're going up against like a 6-string wide receiver, and he allowed this massive catch. I think Amik Robertson needs to be cut. I think he needs to be cut in this next upcoming cuts. I don't think he should even get a shot at the next preseason game. Nothing against Amik Robertson. I'm sure he's a really good dude, but he just doesn't have it. And it's very clear if you guys just pay attention, right? Sam Webb, on the other hand, hands down, beast, man. He's not the greatest in coverage. He was tested a lot. I think they threw it his way like at least 6 or 7 times. He did give us some catches, and I'll be the first to tell you guys. He gave at least 2 to 4 catches, and I know for sure he gave up a massive catch, a deep catch, like 30 yards at one point, but I'm okay with that because he's a rookie. Amik Robertson's going into year 4. Sam Webb's going, you know, he's a rookie. It's his first year. If Amik Robertson and Sam Webb, you know, let's say on a scale of 0 to 100, rated at an 80 overall, both of these guys, you're going to cut the older guy because the younger guy has the potential to continue to grow. And Sam Webb also had that massive hit right before the second half, and he got screwed over, right? Like Sam Webb not only hit the wide receiver, forced the fumble, or I think it was a running back, not only hit him and forced the fumble, he had the heads up awareness, the processing to look and find the ball, pick it up, and start running. And obviously the wide receiver screwed us. We still won. Doesn't matter. It's a preseason game, but Sam Webb had the football awareness, the football IQ, the mental processing to hit a guy, find the ball, pick it up, and take off running with it. You guys tell me what Raider player has done that in the last 3 years. Which one of our secondary players has the brain capacity to make all those different things happen within a play? You know, when the ball hits the ground, people get like nervous and like, oh, where's the ball? This guy did not panic. He did not trip. He found the ball, picked it up, and ran it back, and it should have been a touchdown. Obviously, we got screwed. Again, not a major deal. I'd be surprised if Sam Webb is not somehow affiliated with the Raiders as this season goes on. Like, at the very least, he should be on the practice squad because Sam Webb looks really, 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 really good. And I noticed him in week 1. He was out there making plays. They need to change his number, right? 48 is not a good look, but I'm sure as the numbers come available, he'll take over some of those numbers, right? Maybe he'll take number 21. I think that's what Amik Robertson is. Maybe Sam Webb can get that number. He had a great game, in my opinion. Obviously, needs to continue to get better in coverage. I want to see what you guys think, man. I definitely see some of your guys' comments. Alexander said Leatherwood at guard or swing, a sign starting right tackle. go back to the beginning of this video, man. I appreciate the super chat. I really do. Go back to the beginning of the video and watch it. We talked about Leatherwood. I don't think the Raiders should move him to a different position. I did not say that. I think they should keep him in at right tackle and let him develop. Give him, even if he doesn't start, that's okay. You don't have to start right away. Let him develop, and we'll see what he is next year. If he doesn't develop and isn't good by the time next year starts, you trade him or move him to left guard. And then you try seeing if he or right guard and see if he can replace one of the guards. If he can't, cut him. And I know that sucks. He's the 17th overall pick. Should have taken Christian Barmore. I was all on that last year. Christian Barmore is an absolute superstar player. Regardless, go back to the beginning of the video. Sam Wood, let's talk about it, man. You know what's crazy about the Raiders secondary is we saw Rocky Yassin today, and I got to go back and rewatch the actual coach's film because that's what's going to actually tell me what Rocky Yassin did. But our secondary looked good. Like, our secondary, I believe our secondary was pretty much the starters, right? I don't know if Trayvon Merrick played. I think he may have, maybe he didn't. But Jonathan Abram played, Rocky Yassin played, Darius Phillips played, and I think all of these guys together were able to shut down Tua Tagovailoa. Like, they pretty much had their starters in, right? And we're able to shut all that down. And honestly, like, the Raiders secondary looks good, and I get it. It's preseason. You play a lot of backups, and it's not really the starters. But our guys look good, and Jonathan Abram flashed, man. Jonathan freaking Abram looks really, really, really good. I love the big nickel package, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, maybe I'll do a film study on the big nickel. But Jonathan Abram looked really, really, really good, and I'm excited for this, man. I'm really, really, really excited. I want to see what Abram does as the actual season comes. You know, hitting a tight end, and I get it, it was their starting tight end. Hitting a tight end and maybe getting lucky on a play is one thing, but this guy's done this a couple of times. He did this against Mark Andrews last year against the Ravens in overtime, and I think that was a second down play. It was second and long. Andrews had the ball, and this guy came and popped him and knocked the ball out. It was incomplete. Third and long. We got the sack, and that's how we ended up winning the game in overtime. And yeah, here Abram is again laying a massive hit, forcing a incomplete pass. Patrick Graham, man, big shout out to Patrick Graham. Justin said Patrick Graham will be a great DC for us. Jimmy C said Graham is going to save Abram's career, and that may be fact. And I do think Jonathan Abram has to stay healthy, but I do 100% believe that Patrick Graham is the savior of Jonathan Abram. And we'll see if that ends up being fact. A couple of undrafted guys and some of the younger guys that looked really good. Darian Butler, I think he's locked in to make the roster, and if he doesn't make the active roster, he'll be a practice squad player. Darian Butler looked good, man. Here's the thing: when you watch a guy against the Dolphins' first string guys, I believe it was the first play of the game, or maybe it was the second play of the game. Butler blitzes off the side and blows up the running back. I think it was Chase Edmonds. It may have been one of their other running backs. And boom, you lose 2 or 3 yards on the first play of the game, or one of the first plays of the game, because Darian Butler comes on a slot blitz, right? I didn't rewatch that play, so I got to go back and check it out. But then even over the course of the game, the guy was in pass defense, making good plays. He was doing a lot of really solid things. And Darian Butler, I think, has a lot of flashes. And, you know, I say this, and, you know, don't twist my words here. I think Darian Butler over the long term, right, 2 or 3 years down the line, could be the replacement for Denzel Perryman. You know, I know Denzel Perryman's a good linebacker, and, you know, don't get rid of good linebackers, but let's see if Denzel Perryman continues to be good with the Raiders over the next, you know, 3 to 5 years. Plus, you know, I think having a, you know, I don't know how good you would say Denzel Perryman is. Is he a top 5 linebacker? No. Is he a top 10 inside linebacker? No. Right? Especially when you consider how important pass coverage is to being a top tier linebacker, how important interceptions and turnovers and that kind of stuff is. But he's a good player. But I would still argue that if you want to have a great defense, which obviously I want for the Raiders, you got to have a great linebacker, right? And I think for the Raiders, you got to find that guy. Is it Darian Butler? I don't know, right? But I do know that he's made a lot of plays and he's been doing a lot of good things. Another guy that flashed, Curtis Bolton. You know what's crazy is sometimes I make these videos of these guys and people are like, hey, you're way too excited for certain players. Like, you pump guys up and they suck and they're trash. Curtis Bolton, he's like year 3. He hasn't really done anything. He's been a practice squad guy. The guy looked really good today. Not only did he force a safety on Teddy Bridgewater, a starting caliber quarterback, right? Not only did he force a safety on him, he had a couple of pass breakups. He had a couple of tackles for losses. I think statistically, Bolton had 6 total tackles with 2 tackles for losses. That's by ESPN. But the guy looked really good. I think Curtis Bolton and Darius Butler could be guys that are like, 4th, 5th, 6th string linebackers that are really special teams guys. If you really needed them this year, maybe they come in. Obviously, I think Curtis Bolton maybe not as good as Darius Butler. I think Butler has the higher shot, but Curtis Bolton looked good today, man. He definitely looked good. Darius Phillip locked in my opinion. He looked really, really good today. I think, and this is my personal opinion, I think Darius Phillip should be one of the Raiders cornerbacks that's going to get a ton of playing time. That's my personal opinion. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think Darius Phillips has shined? Have you guys noticed him? I've seen him be all over the field. The guy's been doing a great job. Ty Davis said, where Ty Davis? He said, I hope Jenkins will be okay. He was on fire till the injury. I got to go back and watch his tape. To be honest, I didn't really notice him sticking out. But I'll be the first to tell you guys, I did not rewatch all of the first 2 drives. And I know he got hurt pretty early on. Hopefully he'll be okay. Anthony Rua said Jenkins was supposed to fix our interior line defense. I believe Jenkins is playing on the outside. And you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll see what ends up happening with Jenkins. Hopefully he does get hurt. His injury did look bad because he did go straight off into the to the back. I'm sure we'll probably find out really quickly what his injury is. Martinez said Hankins good. Hankins looked good today, man, and I'm glad that Hankins is out there getting some playing time. Some defensive linemen that looked really good is Bowers. Absolutely. Nick Patel said, just took it right out of my mouth. To Sean Bowers, absolute beast, man. Holy shit, did he look good? We know who our number 1 defensive end is, Max Crosby. We know who our 2nd and 3rd defensive ends are. Some people will say it's Chandler Jones, number 2. I think it's Malcolm Kuntz. I'm a little biased, but you say Chandler Jones is number 2 and Malcolm Kuntz is number 3. Number 4 is up in the air. Some people thought it'd be Jordan Jenkins. Some people are thinking it's Cleveland Farrell. I'm pretty damn sure it's going to be Tashawn Bauer. Like, Tashawn Bauer was an absolute monster out there, man. Blowing plays up, recognizing, processing, reading, diagnosing things before they happen. Right? I think it was an end around play where a guy came around, another guy tried blocking him. He blows the guy up and makes a play in the backfield. But he was also getting in the backfield. I think technically he had a sack, but I don't think that sack actually belonged to him. Let me confirm if he was the one that got credited. So he did get credited with 1 sack. But if you guys go back and watch that sack, Myron Tungvaloa Amosa blew up the right tackle. He straight clubbed him and threw him to the side, forced pressure, and I think Bauer kind of got there as well. But Myron Tungvaloa, man, he has to be on the practice squad this year. The guy has way too much potential. The guy looked good. He had a bunch of pressures. I know technically he didn't get credit for the sack at all. I don't even know if he had any statistics. He had 1 tackle according to ESPN. That's way off. He had way more than what's being given credit to him. Myron Tungvaloa, a cousin of Tua, as the announcer said like 100 times. Myron Tungvaloa, shout out to him and to Sean Bauer. Both guys look really good. It's going to be interesting to see who ends up getting that 4th defensive end spot for the Raiders. I don't know why I feel like Cleveland Farrell may not be with the Raiders. Like, he hasn't practiced. He hasn't really been out there. I'm not sure what the hell's going on with him. So we'll see what ends up happening. But it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited, man. I think the Raiders have so much going for themselves. I want to get into some of your guys' comments. Ty Davis said Bowers was definitely beasting out. I totally agree, man. The guy was all over the field making big plays. Old man Raider Nation, shout out to you. Said Bowers was huge this game. He absolutely was. You know what's crazy is I think on the first play of the game, I think it was Tua Tagovailoa came out and threw the ball, or maybe it was on the first third down play, and Malcolm Kuntz, man, gave their right tackle a straight speed outside speed rush, quickly twitched himself, boom, right into the inside, and he hit Tua. And no one pointed it out. I went back and I rewatched that play twice, and I thought, damn, Kuntz is really good. And I think he only played after that play. I think they took him right out. Kuntz is the real deal, man. I'm gonna stop saying that, and I think Kuntz is gonna prove that to be fact. El Fuji said, "My guy Sanjeet for right tackle." No, man, that would never happen. It's hilarious. I appreciate the comment though. Ty Davis Bauer, my phone adds the S. Bauer, I hear you. I hear you. Curtis said, like Myro Uso is solid. I totally agree with that. I'm excited, man. Kai said, I don't think Kuntz played. I think he played literally on the first 3 plays. And don't quote me on that, man. I'm pretty sure it was only like the first 3 plays. He definitely had a quarterback hit, or at least some sort of pressure. I call it a quarterback hit, but you know, who knows what PFF or ESPN is going to call it. I'm excited, man. Chris said Farrell got hurt. Feelings. Yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting, man. I'm excited. We have our final preseason game obviously coming up. I'm gonna actually go back right now. I'm gonna check the tape out, and I think I'm gonna post the film breakdown. I don't know if I'm gonna do Jermaine Illuminor. I'm gonna for sure do someone. I have the itch to do a film breakdown right now, so I'm gonna go and do one right now. I'm gonna post it either on the main channel or the second channel. If you guys aren't subscribed to the second channel, it's called The Football Scout. We're growing, man. I was at 5,000 subscribers back in March. We're at almost 15,000, and it's been like 4 or 5 months since that time. So, I know there's a lot of you guys that are following. So, you guys can go check that channel out. Go check it out. I'm pumped up, man. I want to know what you guys think. I appreciate all you guys that tuned in. Almost 700 you guys tuned in today. We got to win, so make sure you represent your Raiders gear this entire week. Thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.